law enforcement and law and order around the state. Oh, there we go.
Bring it down the house.
And that's it. But, you know, it really is all about that pillar of community support that comes from having a strong police force. I mean, I'm running around the state, and we've got, as many of you know, we've got the largest audience in the state. That's not by accident. You know, we've got more than 1 million people that tune in. A third are Democrat, a third are Republican, and a third are independent. It's not about the show. It's not about the entertainment factor. It's about people wanting to hear the truth. It's about people looking at New Jersey and saying, you know what? I'm sick and tired of the politicians running the state into the ground. Sick and tired of them making the money, lying in the pockets of special interests. Meanwhile, you're paying $5, $6, $7 for a dozen eggs. Meanwhile, you got your gas prices go up, your real estate taxes go up. The average tax in the state, $10,000 for a house. That's completely mad. And what are we doing? Are we paying our police officers more? Are we giving a cost of living adjustment on these guys that put their lives on the line for us? No, we're not doing that. What we're doing is balancing the budget on the backs of cops, balancing the budget on the backs of firefighters, EMTs, teachers, all the folks that make our community great. We end up taking a chunk out of them so the politicians can live better. It's time that stops. It's got to stop. So how do we do it? Well, we restore common sense. And there are 3 things that we have to do. Number 1, and I stand here today at Kirk Florist because we've got to support small business. Small business is struggling under regulations, under taxes. You know, we have the highest corporate business tax in the country. And half of the businesses, half of the employment in New Jersey work for shops like this, work for small business. Yet you're paying 12.5% for our corporate business tax, and the numbers keep going in the wrong direction. Right across the river in Pennsylvania, they cut it to 4.99%. How do you keep up with that? Then you've got an administration in Trenton, and honestly, it's not just the Democrats. The Democrat majority has been terrible for this state, but the Republicans have let them get away with so much over the past few years. You know, it's not by accident that a third of our businesses didn't reopen after they closed for COVID. It's not by accident. That's because there was no helping hand. You know, the federal government spends $150 billion to secure the Ukrainian border. We got an open border on our southern border, and we've got illegals coming to New Jersey that are getting free college, free abortion. They're getting all the benefits of the law and order and the peace and security put on by these guys in uniform, and they're not contributing to it. So something's got to change. We've got a revolving door when it comes to bail reform. Somebody beats up his wife, goes in, he gets processed. 3 hours later, he's back on the street. I was just talking to these guys earlier that, you know, we have this miracle of Narcan. You can actually bring someone back to life. Yet sometimes it's administered to the same guy in the same day multiple times. Totally unacceptable. We have it completely backwards. So number one, we've got to protect our small business. We've got to lower that tax burden. We've got to create tax incentives so that businesses can start to hire kids out of college. Why are we then focused on a system that sends everyone to college when in reality, not everyone wants to nor needs to go to college? We got to support entrepreneurs and local business and get people buying local. You know, instead of Amazon, we do it locally. Why? Because that's what builds our community and employs our friends, neighbors, and family members. So that's number 1. Number 2, got to get the government out from in between mom and dad and their kids. At what point did we cede control of our families to the Department of Education? I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen some of the books that are in our kids' libraries right now, but horrific stuff. I mean, sexually explicit stuff that you would get fired if you brought into work. It's in a 4th grade library. Absolutely unacceptable. They're taking kids that are ready for Santa Claus to bring presents down the chimney, and they're telling them, you might be born in the wrong body. What? I mean, we've gone completely over the edge. So you got to protect small business, you got to protect parental rights, and the third thing is we've got to protect our first responders, firefighters and cops first and foremost, because you can't have prosperity, you can't have liberty if you don't have safe streets. I mean, and you don't have to look at Howell and say, wow, high crime area. No, it's not. But you know what? How is it possible that you go to sleep at night and you've got to worry whether some criminal is going to break down your door to get the key fob to steal your car out of your driveway? And here's the worst part. These guys do their job. They arrest them. They bring the perp in. Number 1, bail reform gets them out that day. Number 2, we have a government in Trenton that has failed to appoint judges to more than 150 vacancies. So you got a backlog. What's happening? The guy goes in, steals your car, gets caught, He's out in 3 hours, and then every 90 days for 3 years, he gets a letter saying, sorry, your court date has been postponed. We can't see you. What do you think he's doing in the couple of years that he's out? Stealing more cars, dealing fentanyl, all of these things. We've got to get back to normal. Now, I don't have to tell you that when the politicians are focused on themselves and not focused on public service to all of you, things go awry. We have had a rough road in the last 3 years. You know, we got a budget now of $53 billion, but where's the money? Where's the money to shore up the system for all the guys that put in their time and then retired? And I don't know anybody out there talking about the cost of living adjustment for our cops, but that's something that's got to be first and foremost. The second thing is we've got to make sure that school funding and first responder funding is not political. The state seems to be taking away money from towns that are not supportive of the current majority in Trenton. Totally unacceptable. So let me give you the good news. Help is on the way. Help is on the way. Promise me you're not going to go to Florida in the next 3 years. All right? I want you to stay here with me. Look, it's tempting. I get it. But here's the thing. We are the majority. The problem is that not enough of us get out and vote because too many New Jerseyans think it can't be fixed. It can't be fixed. We've got our local Howell administrators here, our council and our mayor, and when I look at you guys and I say, you know what? Not only can it be fixed, if we're electing common sense candidates at the local level, well, we can elect them at the county level, we can elect them in the legislature, and eventually elect a governor that understands how to fix this state and has the will to do it. And that's what we need. It's been done in other states. Florida was a blue state, almost lost. Ron DeSantis came in. Do you know he won his first election by 3,000 votes? He won the next one by 900,000. That's how you change a state. We got to believe that we can do it. We've got to say, first of all, it can be fixed. Second of all, I'm going to vote. I want all of you to ignore the noise about the mail-in voting. And when you get that ballot, mail it in. You know, they try to cheat at every level, right? They'll try to cheat you at the machines. They'll try to cheat you at the ballot. It doesn't matter. We have to overwhelm and outpace the cheat. Because in Mercer County in 2022, every single machine was down on election day. Every one of them. So how many guys went to vote? 6:05 in the morning, the polls are open. They catch a train to Manhattan at 6:45. They're not back till 8:30 at night. Guess whose vote didn't count? You got to send it in and then help us on election day. You got to vote in the primary. And you got to tell your friends who are not registered as a Republican or a Democrat to say, get involved in the primary. I call it the One Less Idiot campaign. Here's what I mean. How many times have you gone to the polls in November and you're like, wait a minute, how do we get stuck with these two idiots? Right? Happens all the time. You got to vote in the primary. We got to make sure we're sending good people. And I truly believe that if we can build a Republican majority in the course of the next 2 to 4 years, we're going to take this state back. Wisconsin came back in 1 year in 2010, electing a new governor and a new legislature. They went from a $3.6 billion deficit to a $900 million surplus. Guys, we can do it here. You know what the problem is? We think we can. And until we start to know that we can, it's not going to change. So we got to know that we can. This is a great state. I'm not going anywhere. How many of you want to leave New Jersey? How many of you could be forced out of New Jersey because of the cost? Right, that's the problem. So let's fix it. Let's fix it together. Let's build this state back the way it should be because it's awesome. What I want to do is make New Jersey Florida without the humidity. Help me do that, all right? Help me do that. Join the Common Sense Club. We have 107,000 members now. It's the fastest growing organization in the state. We've got the biggest audience in the region with our radio show in the morning. So go to jointhefight2023.com, take a sign, be proud of being from New Jersey, and know that I've got your back. There are more of us. Remember, 7 out of 10 moves are out of state. What does that mean? 7 out of 10 people have given up. Do you know that in Virginia and in New Jersey in 2021, there was only one difference? The turnout in Virginia was 6 in 10. In New Jersey, 6 in 10 stayed home. Yes. That's how this mess got created. So get out and vote. Tell your neighbors to get out and vote. They don't have to be Republican. Get them to vote if they're independent. Get them into that primary and help us take this back. So the website is jointhefight2023.com. As long as I have a microphone, the men and women in blue know that they have a voice. And we're going to keep doing Blue Friday. We're going to keep fighting back against this ridiculous narrative against our cops. You know what happens. They show a 9-second clip of a 5-minute arrest. and all of a sudden it looks bad. And it's time we stand up for our cops, our state troopers, our local police, our corrections officers, and everyone in between. We got to fight hard and turn against this narrative that acts like police are the problem. Now, let me tell you something. We don't have a society if we don't have men and women that are willing to put on the uniform and go out on that shift. And, you know, don't let them ever tell you that there's such a thing as a routine, anything in police work. There's no such thing as routine, and there's no such thing as a town without crime, because every time a police officer shows up at a domestic violence call or on a traffic stop, there's nothing routine about that. They put their lives on the line for us. So again, I want to thank you guys, Chief. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the guys in uniform. Thank you, guys. If anybody has any questions, be happy to take them. Yes.